You are live. Hey, hey, hey. It's Terry Ann here with the beautiful Miss Keegan. Today we are
Hello, hello.
talking about today we are talking about shedding the skin and igniting the path. Wow. I think it's going to be a powerful day for both of us and as well as anybody that watches because there's so much going on right now
There
with the
is.
energy and what we're going through. And, often it can feel like we're very alone in what we're doing ourselves. But it also can feel like we're getting it wrong or we should be further along or we judge ourselves for being where we're at. So a lot of that is what we're going to talk about today in this show about shedding the skin and igniting the path. So welcome, Keegan. Thank you for being here and joining me on our third Thursday.
Thanks for having me. As always, a pleasure.
What a great year to start off. What a great show to start off the year, huh?
Yeah, it really is. It's in alignment with the energies that are happening, and I think it's in alignment with a lot of what we're all feeling in our soul. That soul tug that's happening.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about this little invocation I was called to do this morning before we start, and then we're going to jump right in. If
Okay.
you're joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Terry Ann, and this is Sacred Wellness, and I have with me today Keegan Smith. We're talking about shedding the skin and igniting the path. So just close your eyes, put your hands on your heart, and take a deep breath in and release it. And as we call in this moment with intention and reverence, we wish to honor the cycles we are closing. The skins are ready to be shed. The fires are awakening within us. May this conversation move gently through with truth and with courage. Help us to release what no longer serves us. Ignite what is ready to rise within us. Today we invite clarity. Clarity where there's been confusion. Strength where there's been fear. And freedom where there's been holding on. May those listening feel supported as we step out of the old and into the momentum of becoming. It is time to clear out, to let go, and to honor you. That feels good.
I love that. Hmm.
Yay. I want to jump right in and start with you. So we are closing out this cycle. We're going to talk a little bit about what that means for us, what it means for everybody else, and then some things people can do to sort of work through this energy because it's not about pushing through. It's not about fixing. It's not about getting rid of. It's about really honoring who you are, where you are, acknowledging that you've gone through this up to this point and it's served you. But now, as we're moving into this new energy, it's not needed anymore. So I want to ask you, where have you recently shed your skin?
Um, my body. That I am not invincible, and that it definitely can happen to me, and that observing and not absorbing is really key. And if you take those small whispers before they come into screams and start paying attention to them, you can prevent things. But for me, it really has been to realize that I am not superwoman. I'm not invincible. I am not, just healthy because I say I'm healthy. I do have to do the due diligence, and I do have to take the steps needed, mind, body, and soul, to make sure that I'm always in alignment and to make sure I'm always at my healthiest. And that, it's really easy to say that you would die for someone or die for your life or die to keep something around. But I think the power in it and the realization in it is that it's more brave to live for those things. So I think that has been a big eye opener for me, and something I'm really, really willing to shed. And I think it is a mirror of everything that's going on, because I look at myself as the strength and the like what I exude, sometimes
Mhm.
as a patriarch within myself. And so I'm seeing, how I'm challenging that, and that you don't always have to be busy, and that you do have to take the moments of rest, and you don't always have to be doing something. you're just as powerful, you know, in those rest moments and creating the peace as well as the go. So I'm ready to shed that once and for all. And I don't really care the judgment that comes with it or the perception of it, because the life I lived is mine, you know, and you could
Yeah.
easily say you could do it too, but you didn't. So I don't want to be the didn't. What
Oh,
about
I
you? What
love
about
that. Yeah, I really love that because it's so important, and we are really judgmental to ourselves often. We get into a place where we're going through something like this, and the card I pulled this morning was perfect. It was judgment, and I was like, okay, because I have, there's moments you catch yourself in those times, and you're like, oh, you're being so lazy. You could be doing this, this, and this.
yeah.
And that's that old beliefs and those old thinking, the old ways that we were taught that no longer exist. Do you remember the commercial? I can bring home the bacon and fry it up in the pan.
Yes, yes, yes.
I think it was a commercial for perfume, but I don't remember. But it's funny because for me, I'm so far distanced from that. That was my life. I can bring home the bacon, I can fry it up in the pan, I can do it all. I don't need your help. And I did it on my own for a long, long time. And now I'm in this space. And so sometimes when we're letting go or closing that out, it really truly means saying no to others, but also to
Yeah,
yourself, right? I have to have a time where I'm able to be in this space and acknowledge it. But also, say no to those things that don't light me up anymore. Those things,
exactly.
the judgment that I have against myself when I'm not doing, as you said, when we're in a space of rest or we're in a space of taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Often that judgment comes from within, down below. That is definitely needs to leave now. Um, let's talk a little bit about where the fire horse is pushing you to be seen. Oh, wait, sorry. What are you consciously choosing to leave behind this year? So we talked about that, old thoughts, patterns, beliefs.
Yeah.
But where is the firehouse pushing you to be seen, heard, and expanded?
A few places. I feel like I'm giving myself the time to really digest some things, because I'm seeing a lot of ending happen around me. And it's been very eye opening for a lot of things to come and a lot of things that I am, creating in my own life. And I want to say that I'm being called mostly to my career, but I really am being called with this horse energy for transformation. And transformation it covers everything. You know what I mean? If I'm transforming the inside, it's only natural that family is going to transform, career is going to transform, health's going to transform, my environment's going to transform. So instead of me choosing something and just barrel heading into it, I'm really trying to use this energy of the horse to create an environment within that can sustain without, you know?
Yeah.
And part of what you were saying about the judgment and things like that, it's not just the judgment of self, but just really being okay with being perceived as judgmental because you have strong discernment, and being perceived judgmental because you can recognize pattern and not apply that pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And being okay being judged on the outside because you are pushing that judgment from the inside and pushing it out, so that you no longer are integrating it within, because discernment is a very fine line with judgment,
Yeah.
and so I would say that horse energy, I'm really just trying to hold it and let it burn up everything that is unneeded inside, and let it direct me, and let my heart like really really decide, because if I'm choosing from a heart space and I'm choosing from my alignment in consciousness, then everything around me is just going to align naturally.
Yeah. And I think when we believe that, we honor that, we look at that, it's so powerful because it just moves things. It's a lot easier for energy to flow rather than being in that resistance that we are going through. And sometimes it is a little scary to leave behind who you always thought you were, right? All of a
Yes.
sudden we're in this space and we're saying, well, I'm not this person anymore. And you can sort of, like for me, I always sort of feel it before. So I feel that I've outgrown spaces. I feel that it's
Yes.
time to change the name of my business, or change my
Hmm.
podcast name, change the guests that I'm interviewing, change the whole concept of me and what I offer. Um, and it's funny because years and years ago, before I was spiritual, I would say it's like sort of like every 5 to 7 years, I would feel like I was a different person.
Bingo.
And I couldn't put a word. I couldn't find words to describe it to people. And at that time, there was nobody around me that would truly understand what I meant anyway. But for myself, I felt it beforehand, right? I'm outgrowing this job. It's time for me to move on. And I
Yes.
did receive a lot of flack for that, because I was always viewed as I was flighty or I was impulsive, but I didn't
Inconsistent.
belong there anymore. So yeah, what do you think about that?
No, I love that you brought that up. That's exactly what I'm trying to use this energy for, that it's okay, because I am somebody that needs to experience. I am somebody that needs to feel. And once I have, felt an experience there, and there's nothing new to learn, and there's not a deeper reflection of myself to learn about, I do have to go, because I have accepted that I'm a way shower and a pathfinder, and that I lead the way in my own life, because I'm very much seated with the creator. And like you, I really hold true to that. And instead of judging myself in those moments, I'm just embracing it and not allowing myself to hold on, or my intention is not to hold on anymore, because of fear of change, or fear of hurting someone, or fear of what is left when you change. um kind of cliche, but the trees don't worry about the leaves, they just let them go, because they know that they'll grow again. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like that. And how you were saying about career and changing the business, or changing the name of your business and things like that, it's like, it's natural to change. We don't have to hold on to something so tight and beat a dead horse. Basically, you want the horse to run. It's the year of running horses. Don't beat the dead horse.
Don't beat the dead horse. That'll be our slogan for today.
Yeah,
I love that.
definitely.
The fire horse really is. I was doing some research and I was looking back, but the fire horse really is about freedom, speed, passion, and bold action. And so this is a year. Often, when we're coming into ourselves and we're trying to figure out, we're in that space where we are now, trying to figure out what it is that we want. What do we want to bring in? What do we want to change? There's some like sort of hesitation that goes with that. But once we're in that space, there's no more hesitation, right? You're in that, it favors that energy of movement.
Yeah.
Fire horse, freedom is a big thing. Fire horse wants to be free. Freedom is a big thing, and freedom from beliefs, thoughts, patterns, people, things you're holding on to. I've been working through moving out a lot of that stuff, not
Hmm.
only physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And then in the house, I found that we have so much stuff. Like we moved last year, and I'm like, where did all this stuff come from again? Like, so, and it's outdated. It needs to go. So
Exactly.
this is the time really before the middle of February that we're in this space to move that stuff through. You
I've
find
definitely been feeling that. Yeah, I've definitely been feeling that in the house as well too, and letting go of the idea that I have to keep this because nothing's wrong with it, or I have to keep this because I spent a lot of money on this, or I have to keep this because it's worth something. Because I'm realizing, or I have realized, that that is coming from a lack mentality. That is coming from the idea that you can't replace that, or it's coming from the idea that if I don't have this, I am going to be lacking something. But it's not. It's a representation of letting go, because we do live in an abundant world. No matter what the news or whatever tries to tell you, we live in such abundance, and it has to start within us. And that purging of your home, and purging of things that no longer serve you, and like you said are outdated, is just
Mhm.
truly a reflection of then what can happen on the inside, and then what can continue to happen on the outside. So I've definitely been in that mode too. Like, I'm making it a purpose to choose quality over quantity. And I'm using that across the board. No more breadcrumbs, no more scraps.
No, I love that, because that stuff energetically holds us down. Not only the beliefs, thoughts, and patterns, but the things in our house that we hold on to that we think we have to have. Like, I can't even imagine. I always say when my kids go through my house after I pass, they're going to be like, what am I going to do with all these Buddhas? And they're going to throw them in the garbage because they're not into the Buddha. So I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's like, moving out, not that I'm going to throw away my Buddhas, but as just an example. But we want to talk a little bit about how the snake sheds and the fire horse moves forward. We can't bring into where we're going those old things. I think that scares a lot of women in particular because we always worry about our husband and our children. I want to talk about this today because I've also had those fears in the past, and I think it's crucial to acknowledge what that is. Many don't often know that what's behind that is we have to, as we change ourselves, they also change. They have a choice to change. Otherwise, organically, they do move away. That doesn't mean your children, but you can have different beliefs, different ideals, different ways of who you are. Your children and your husband will change as well.
Yes, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing that happen right now in your life?
In my life, with some clients and stuff, I knew that before because I've had a fear around that, especially with my children and my husband long ago, that, as I shifted and changed, and he was so slow, in my opinion, coming along. Whereas in reality, he's more advanced. He's just not as aware or as verbal about it as I am.
Yes.
He's actually more advanced than I am. So when you look at it, I had some fear around. And not until I worked through those things and I fully understood that who I was becoming required me to do things differently and step up and set boundaries and say no and really have that self-worth to be able to, especially with my children, no, I can't do this for you. No, you have to do that for yourself or whatever it is. But not until I fully understood that did I grasp that concept that they would move along with me because as I was changing, they were changing. And I think that goes back into that past, present, and future. We believe the world is linear. So we think if we change now, we're not affecting any of those things, but we are also changing past, present, and future.
I agree 100%. And I think that we don't, as women, give ourselves enough credit that we really set the tone for the environment and we really set the momentum for the environment. And I've noticed in letting go of a lot of things and listening to my body rest and my mind rest. And I don't just mean like I sit on the couch and that is what I call rest, Sometimes for me, it's getting lost in an art project for hours and not giving a shit if the dishes are in the sink or if any of the chores got done or if any of that stuff got dusted or moved, It's doing that bring me joy, reading that chapter of a book that's been curious to me. It's, throwing that stuff out and not asking if it's okay or making sure everybody's okay with it. That is what I mean by rest too. It's allowing my mind to take a break. Therefore, my body is resting naturally. Mm-hmm. And what I've realized, or what happens naturally, is when you do those things, you're creating space because you're letting go. You're letting go of that need to be productive. You're letting go of that need to produce something. And it allows others to fill in the gaps. It allows others to step up to the plate. It allows others to see that you're tired and that you're tired of it instead of just vocalizing that. Sometimes you need to see the physical change of somebody and you need to see them letting go in order for you to step in. And I know I've seen that with my own husband. You could have a resentment of like, I'm struggling, I'm drowning over here, I'm doing all of these things and you're just letting me drown. But it's like, you didn't see me let go. So how can I know you're drowning? But when you see somebody let go, it gives them the opportunity to step up to the plate. It gives them the opportunity to fill in the gaps. And it gives vulnerability a chance to be born. And I think that's when we change the most, is when we can be vulnerable with one another. But if we're always producing and we're always living in production, there is no vulnerability in that.
And if we're always distracted, right? I think back to my grandmother, and she used to crochet a lot and just sit for hours on the couch crocheting. And it was such a peaceful time. And we don't really take those hobbies as important as they are. As you said, when you're drawing, creating, painting, doing crochet, you're sort of in a meditative state. You're not thinking about all of the things that need to get done, and so you are resting in that space, right? You're giving your mind, body, soul, and you're doing something you love. So in that creation, you are creating more than you ever know. And I always wondered why those traditions or those hobbies, some of them are coming back, and I love to see that, because I think as a society we're so distracted. I mean, it was just the other day, there's a kid walking through the parking lot, on their phone as I'm trying to come through the way there, and I'm like, do you see me? Like, get off your phone. Like, you expect me to stop the car for you, but you should be aware of what you're doing. So I think as a society, we are really distracted. And when we look at that, like you say, like, oh, well, go crochet or grow paint and see, but when you're doing it, not only does it bring you joy, which creates momentum, it's bringing you into that meditative state, which is also a creation phase for you.
Yeah, and it's funny that you bring up crochet, because that's exactly some of the things I've gone back to. I've gone back to doll making, crocheting, doll making, and sewing. And I was realizing that for the past 3 years of my life, I've dived into my art, but I wasn't creating for myself. I've been creating for other people, live event painting with weddings and
Mm-hmm.
teaching and instructing. And when you're doing that, you're constantly creating for a monetary purpose, or you're creating in the likeliness of someone else, of what they want and what they
Right.
can handle and what they can recreate. And I've lost the joy in that. It became a productivity. It became
Mm-hmm.
a create to get instead of a create to meditate. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that you bring that up, because some people can't just sit and meditate. They need to be doing something. And that brings a lot of meditation and a lot of relax. And not only that, it's reconnecting me again to the creator within. And I'm remembering dreams that I had, and remembering, wishes that I wanted for the future. And those little sparks and those little whispers, I can hear them again. And I was telling you the other day, I could really just go for a silent retreat, like 7 days of no noise, no nothing, me and my projects, and see what is born in that,
Yeah, it
I
would be
wanted to also
beautiful.
I want to turn it
Um,
off.
I know. Let's talk a little bit. We're getting into it now, so let's move into it. How to work with this energy, things you can do, tips and ways to move through that energy. And one is by what you were talking about and doing. And I think sometimes, we take it for granted, but my daughter's a teenager now, and so those moments that I have with her are short. And so even just sitting on the couch, holding one another, coloring together, those are for me, as she gets older, moments that are less, but they're so
Yeah,
cherished. And often we're in that space of rush, rush, rush. So we don't do it. Usually for her, it's like 10 o'clock at night. She wants to come in and talk. And I'm like, I'm already
you're like, I'm
spent for the
tired.
day. She's on a whole nother clock than I am, but I'm like, I'm already spent for today. But that's part of those boundaries, but saying no. And so the next day we'll spend time together or we'll do something. But I think even in the moments of being quiet with her, like sitting at the table, I'm doing a paint by number right now, and she's creating art for school. So even just sitting there together at the table, even if it's quiet, she'll remember those times
Yeah.
that we've been doing that. So I think, things that take you out of the busyness and into the present is what is a good tip for you to, as we're moving through this new energy that's coming in with the horse.
Yeah, and some people, like, I love that you said that, sitting and you guys doing the same thing, but no one's communicating, right? No one's touching. We know that there's an energetic body, and your energies are in alignment at that point, and there's peace and there's a vibration that's being shared there. And sometimes that's really healing, and it's embedding into the subconscious, more than a verbal conversation. allowing space for the quiet. And I think that it's really important because, again, speaking about vulnerability, because I believe this horse energy is going to bring so much to the surface that if you want connection, you have to be vulnerable. You have to be genuine. You have to be. It's not going to allow for the facade. It's not going to allow for the mask or the skin. It has to be. And I think that we take for granted how connective silence really is, and sharing and energy, and creating those moments of doing something together without forcing connection is just as important as
I
verbal.
agree for sure. Absolutely. Another thing I want to talk about is the ability to, for me, a lot of this has been, and you mentioned it before, about the body. And I know there's a lot of people out there that I've talked to recently that the body is a big thing for them as well. So body-based practices, right? Breath work, movement. It doesn't always have to be working out. It can be dancing. It can be whatever you love. It can be walking in nature, something that doesn't feel like exercise, but, even just jumping up and down in the morning. How invigorating is that, to just jump up and down in the morning, like when you were a kid, and laughing. And I found myself the other day, it was really funny, when I was walking, like all of a sudden I had this urge to like skip, like when you were young. And you thought that was like the best thing ever, that you could skip, you learned how to skip. But, and it brought such laughter and joy to my life that my body actually felt exhilarated in that moment, because it was playing again. It was having fun. And I think, along with vulnerability, the horse is going to bring in a lot of that playfulness that we've lost before, because we've been such, as a society and the collective, very serious.
And skipping is part of vulnerability. You could have smushed that inner child that said, Terry, skip. You could have. But the vulnerability in not being in being carefree, not caring about who's seeing or judging. It's listening to that, and it's taking those moments to really listen to the body. And that's mainly what I've been talking about with my body. If we don't listen to those little things like skip, then we're not going to listen to the little things like, hey, you're having a heart palpitation. Hey, something's going on, you're not going to hear it. You're just not. You have to listen to those little whispers. That the child teaches you so much outside of you. The children teach us so much. And it's like, I remember the child in me raising a child. And I love that you skipped, because I'm doing goofy stuff too. Like in my mind, I singing a little jingle, instead of keeping it in my head, I'm singing it out loud. And then Justin and Olivia are busted up laughing. Where did that come from? I don't know. The little kid in me. And it does it.
I just did that the other day, and they're like, Mom, like, what is wrong with you?
Yes, exactly. And you're like, everything's wrong and nothing at all.
What was it? I was like, Sophia doesn't know. Sophia gotta go.
Yes.
They're like, what is wrong with you? You already know the answer to that question.
Exactly.
So honor and rest, even in fast moving energy. This is important because we work, right? We have deadlines to meet. There's still things to need to be done. I want to talk about a little bit with that, about closing out the old when we're bringing in the new, right? The end of the year, you usually think about that. Before December, we're going to close out the old and stuff. So naturally, I started to slow things down as I moved into December. Not realizing yet about the Chinese calendar and the horse and the snake. I naturally, before I even read about that, was slowing down and taking that time even into January. So honoring rest in fast moving energy, I think, is also important, because we have deadlines to meet. We have things we have to do, but we also have to make the time that's important equally to resting and not always doing.
And, you bring up the Chinese calendar, and I'm really big on how the Gregorian calendar messed us all up, and how spring really isn't until our new year of the world and the earth that we live on really isn't until March, so it's kind of unnatural to force ourselves into this momentum right in January. and why so much resolution and why so much energy dies off, because naturally it's not. It is that, like you said, that shedding energy. And I think that that's every year. It's kind of like that bunker down and kind of vegetate or hermit. And we don't give ourselves that. We're like, oh no, it's January. It's a new year. It's New Year resolutions. Go, 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 go. You have to catch this energy now. But it's actually the reverse. You're supposed to really be reflective at this time, reflective in that, and give yourself the rest so that when the spring does hit and the new year does hit on a planetary alignment, then you are more in line with that energy and you're ready to go with focus and clarity because you took the time to rest and reflect and see what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, I think that's so key, right? Because if we more look at it, like often I feel like we get stuck into that, it's out in front of me. It says I'm supposed to be doing this. Like this is the end of the year. I got to bunker down and do that. Right. But I'm not feeling it.
Yeah. You're
I'm
not feeling it.
And then so it's like, but I'm supposed to do it. So you do it and none of it makes sense usually. And then you come into January and you're like, oh, everything's messed up. I need to change everything now. And I think that's because we haven't learned how to honor what we're feeling versus what we're being shown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about a snake, shedding, right? You have this skin that's like loose that naturally just falls off as the snake's moving along. But then you have all of these little flakes that continue to stay on the snake. And the only way that the snake can get it off is to rub itself against rough edges and to squeeze itself through really tight spaces and force the rest of the shed. And, if you think of that on an energetic level, that is definitely what you're feeling. You're feeling those pressure moments, and you're also feeling like, oh, I have to rub this rough edge a little. I don't want to do it, but I have to. I know that it's necessary in the end. And then, the idea of shedding skin and breaking free and becoming that horse, anything that's flaking off of you is going to catch the wind. You're not going to be able to run, So symbolically, it's all working with us too. It's a story almost. It's like an energetic story.
And I think that's where we get stuck in the frustration. That's an old belief that I have, is the frustration that I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be somewhere else, but I'm still over here. And so I get frustrated. But it's not time for that yet. So I think for me, what's being shown really where I've changed my not only thinking, feeling, doing, being, but looking at that and go, okay, honoring. Yeah, maybe I was used to following that, but now I'm going more with my feeling and what that feels like to me. Because who wants to do it and then do it again? I don't want to do work in December and then redo it in January. I would much rather go with the flow. And I think when we do that, right, we're honoring that part of us that maybe physically, logically, we don't know, but we know. Somewhere in there, our souls, we know, and they're starting to help us move through what that is. And so understanding that.
Have you felt this past week, this overwhelming fatigue, though, that you just really need to be down a little?
Yes. It's funny because I feel like, most of all, like the week comes and I'm like, I have all these things I need to do, right? Or everybody does. We have all these things planned and work and all this stuff. But my body is like, hey, and I can almost feel it like when I'm walking or exercising. Like even yesterday, I did yoga. I felt great. But coming home then, I was like, my body was like so like tired. And like even walking, I go through, my body's like, hey, is that what you're feeling?
Yeah, I am. And I've been trying to like give myself grace instead of like being like, why are you like this? I'd just be like, wow, something's going on with the energies and my body is trying to sync up with it and align with it, or it's releasing some of the pressure of the collective, or it's releasing some of the old. Like, even if I'm not completely conscious, I really think this release is happening and the body's needing to attune to it. And I'm trying to listen to it, but man, it's been overwhelming. Like the normal activities that I need to do in a day, or my normal work week and just week in general, like it's really draining the life out of me. Like after one accomplishment, I'm like, all right, let's sit down for a little bit. Is it time for a nap yet? Can I go to bed at 8:30?
I know you mentioned something really important. I want to talk about it because I don't know that we dive deep into it enough here, but we're going to go for it. The collective. So I believe you believe too, that we are all attached and we are all connected in some way, one way or another. So if you believe that, and then you believe you're not the only one on this wheel, right? You're just a spoke on the wheel, that if everything else is happening and everybody else is feeling this, that you're going to feel it too. Naturally. And it is calling us, because what we're doing here is finishing out what we started, right? We're getting rid of the old. We're pulling away or shedding or tearing away in some cases, but that requires us to rest more and be in that space of resting. And so when we're moving into the new, we're able to, we've closed those loops. We've done those things. We've let our body rest. We've allowed for that to happen. So if you've been tired, or your body's been feeling it, leave us a comment and let us know for sure. I know we're not the only ones out there.
No, and collectively, if we're all purging, energy is not created nor destroyed, so it has to go somewhere. And I feel like if we're not on a collective level learning to transmute and let these things flow, they're kind of getting stuck and stagnant. And then the ones that are, transmuting and integrating and allowing the body to attune, I think you kind of feel it, and that's that heaviness, that's that rest, that's that, okay, we need more rest. And I think everybody
when you don't rest, right? You're more agitated. You screw
exactly
things up.
yeah. And then you're more
things, break things.
Yeah. And you're not so eyes wide open to things and seeing it as a lesson or seeing it as a blessing. You're just agitated. So you're just moving the energy back and forth instead of really allowing it to flow. And so I think that kind of thing is happening on the collective too. There's this huge shed because so many are turning on. And I know when I first really turned on, it was like, everything go. And so I'm sure there's a lot of that happening too. And then there's others, controlling the flow. And I feel like we're feeling it so much more now because so many in the collective are really doing the work. They're really looking at themselves and doing the work, the soul work, and saying, hey, there's a bigger picture here. There's a bigger part of me here.
Absolutely. Those relationships, those structures that have always held, that we've known our whole life. But now as people are waking up, so many outdated versions are being stripped away. And I think when you lift that veil of illusion, it can be, very inundating and scary sometimes. And that's why I love my book, Reaching for You with Mary, because it really, I was going through that at that time where the veil of illusion was lifted. And I was like, oh my God.
You're back on.
Everything you told me was a lie.
Yeah. And it's shattering, and I know that you talked about that. It's shattering. It shatters, the window in front of you, but how pretty is stained glass?
It is beautiful. Once you move through it, once you realize, like, what do you mean? What do you mean I'm not the strong one? I was always forced to be the strong one.
Those pieces and you form, once you take all those pieces of broken glass and you really form something together, it's so much more beautiful than the plain pain you were looking out of.
Yes. So you look at that, right? And you see out of that pain came beauty.
The play on words.
I think, because of that energy too, we don't always attach ourselves or look at it as a collective thing. Often we're just very one layered, like, oh, it must be me. But I think the more you realize, the more you see, the more you start to understand that, maybe this isn't mine. Maybe this isn't
Exactly.
my thought or belief. Maybe this was just the way I was raised, and I've never believed this. And now all of a sudden I'm like, what the hell? Like, I, none of it was true. And so, that does your body, your nervous system, your mind, they're all in like this overload state where now it's scary. And so I think a lot of that tiredness is coming from that collective also, not only the shedding, but people leaving those things behind.
And when you see yourself as part of the collective and you realize that you're not alone in it, you can also have grace with others in their limitations. You don't have to sit there with the limitations, but you can see yourself in the limitations.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if someone's saying, I could do your life, or if I was given what you were given, my life would look like this. It's real easy to get angry and feel judged or judgmental. But in reality, when you start to really pull the layers apart, you're just seeing the limitations and the projection of that, because it's a mirror to you, because we all are one. We are in that collective. So at one point you limited yourself and you said,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do this, or I could do this. So for someone to have that reflection on you means you did it. You broke out of that limitation. You broke out of that limiting thought and you achieved something. And now someone else, that is their limit. And now they have to break out and they have to go after something and they have to achieve outside of their limitations. And instead of getting angry, we can kind of see each other on equal playing grounds, even though we're not all on equal playing grounds.
Right.
We're all in this ocean, but we have 3 different boats.
That's for sure. I just read something the other day, and it was like, once you do the healing work, and so you're confronted with something or someone, how you react is much different. So, how you used to react versus how you react now. That's a big truth teller, how much work you've done. Can you get to the point where you just walk away? Or are you pulled in again? And sometimes you do get pulled in. It's not that you haven't done the work, and it's not that you haven't gotten that far and been clear with what you want. But sometimes, we're human, and we do, especially when it comes to our families, we get pulled into what that is. And I think that's where the judgment comes in again, right? It's about letting go,
Yeah.
Letting go of not only who we are now, but understanding who they are, but letting go that they maybe want to live there. You can't change that for them. I think that's a stark realization when you go through this energy, to realize that, especially as healers and helpers, we've always wanted to heal and help. But now we're realizing that not everybody's meant to be healed or helped.
No. And some people are here to show you where you come from, or some people are here to show you a reflection of what you could have been or what you should have been, or not everything is personal, but everything is personal at the same time. It's a mind warp, but it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, they're living out a different karma, they're living out a different reality, and some people will never see the way you see, and vice versa. And you have to be okay with it. I know I used to try to have the last word or try to force the pattern recognition, because I'm very good at pattern recognition. And I would say, like, listen, I have the answer. This is the answer for you. Take this answer and fix yourself,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then when they don't see the pattern and they don't understand the pattern recognition, you're just left with the anger or resentment or whatever. And so for me, like, the past few years of just not arguing, if that's how you see it, then that's how you see it. You'll have a come to Jesus moment. You'll have, everybody does.
Yes.
I don't care who you are. If you listen, you listen, but if you don't, you don't. But every single person has that moment where spirit is like, hey, hello. And you can listen or not. But I can't give that to you. You have to have that on your own.
Yeah. You remember
I can just show you what happens when you listen to spirit. That's all I can do by myself living.
Right. Or try to give you the answer and you don't listen. That's the old adage, right? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. We can lead you there. You don't have to do it. Huh?
That running horse is going to need to drink.
Absolutely. It's like, I don't know about you. How do you feel? Because I feel like it's so clear the division of people
Yeah.
now. It's really clear to me, and I can see it like so totally objective or observant rather than being in
Mhm.
the energy of it. And I think I posted something the other day that a woman wrote about, it's not always about getting mad about what they did or who did this or who did what, but it's really about being in your peace no matter what's going on in the world.
Exactly.
And I think I went
Exactly.
through that with my integration at one time where it was like, even in the chaos, you need to be the Buddha. So we're being called to be that Buddha in the chaos that's going on in our world, because just continually feeding it and talking about it and hating on people and dividing isn't the
Yeah.
way. The way is the peace through it, right? We forget because we get caught up. But being in the peaceful side of it, are you seeing like that real strict, like you can see the division?
Yeah, and I could see that we are to a point where if you don't think exactly like someone, or if you don't agree to every single thing, then you are just the other side. And I definitely see this divide, but it is completely fear and control based. And I blame technology. I really do. We have a lot of great things that technology can give us, but it's really harming us, especially the amount of dependency people have on it. The fact that they cannot verbalize or conceptualize something without Google or without backing themselves up with some kind of AI is bewildering to me, honestly. And I am starting to ask a lot of people, instead of arguing a point, because there is no point to be argued. We're all in this together. It's all shitty for everybody. And I start asking, like, what would your life look like if you didn't have access to the news? What would your life look like if you didn't have access to the perspective that was being given to you through an algorithm on social media? What would your life look like? Because when none of that stuff exists in my life is beautiful. I like most of my neighbors. I love my job, my husband, my child, my immediate environment, and what I can do in my immediate environment, how I can make changes in my immediate environment. Instead of being on the social media arguing with someone over, the hope tree or the wish tree for Christmas, and how this one should do this and this one should do that. Like, did you go pick up a ticket and make an impact in someone's life? Did you
Mhm.
feed someone for Thanksgiving? Did you do anything that could give you that immediate gratification within your real environment? Or are you just getting this off of
Mhm.
an outside source, And if you really come back to center in that, and you really like ask yourself that, you can't be mad. There's nothing to be mad at. Life is really beautiful. It is this perspective that is making it ugly and causing division. There's
Mhm.
really nothing going on in your immediate environment that would cause you to be so angry at someone
Yeah.
or so hateful towards someone.
That's absolutely, I believe, to be true. As much as a lot of the collective is awakening and healing, a lot of it is not. So we have both sides of the
It
coin
is,
in
yeah.
this equation. And, you know, I have to believe on my end that we're tipping the scales, and that the light is coming up, and the peace and the love will, go sort of through that division. But you hit the nail on the head. If we didn't have all that stuff and we didn't bring all that stuff into our home, what would you be upset about?
Yeah, what would it look like? Truly, what would your
Mhm.
morning look like if you didn't check into social media and
Because
start your
truthfully, do you care if somebody, like I see so much arguing on social media. Do you really care if somebody, pulled the thing off the wish tree? But no, but you want to comment negatively about someone that did or someone that didn't. But how does that really affect you? And would you even know about that? I'm always like, would you even know about that if you didn't have that? I always wonder,
Yeah,
especially with this outage yesterday. So my phone went out. It was one of the phones that went out yesterday. So I've
me
had
too.
no cell service. Which I was like, first I was pissed, but then I was like, okay, well, you know what? I've been saying for a long time, I wish I didn't even have a phone. So there you go. But what would life look like had we not had it? And I'm like, I hope people truly understand that that is like a gift. I mean, yes, it's wonderful to have in today's technology when it's used for that, right? When it's used for calling somebody, connecting with somebody. But if you're just sitting on there constantly scrolling, no, it's not for that. And so when it went down yesterday, I was pissed, and then I was like, okay, there's a lesson behind this for me. And not having it, I'm like, oh, it's so peaceful.
It is. It really is. And it allows you to redirect your attention and your focus to something else, because it's like, oh, I can't use it. I know I can't use it. And then you literally redirect to something else. And if we did that naturally, I think we would all be a lot more healthier.
Yes.
Because people think it's just like America, but it's like everywhere. Corruption is everywhere. It's not just with one leader or this leader or that leader or this color or that color. Corruption's everywhere. It's even in family units. We've talked about generational trauma and generational abuse. Like, corruption is a real thing. So if you're aware of it and you are constantly making changes in your immediate environment to be aware of it and to stop those things, it can only have a trickle effect. Just like things trickle down, things can trickle up too.
Yeah.
And we're so consumed.
Trickle.
Yeah.
Let's start trickling.
And I think that's the energy with the horse coming in too. It's this idea that that little things create the biggest impact. And a running horse, starting a horse running, right, past a whole bunch of other horses, 9 times out of 10 kicks the whole crowd into running. But it only took one horse. All of them didn't collectively get together and say, hey, we're going to run at 11 o'clock. Let's run at 11 o'clock. And you're going to be the leader and I'm going to be like, they didn't do that. One just started running. And then the others were like, hey, that looks like fun. And now you're all running and kicking and screaming and going through the water. And, have you ever seen wild horses on the beach? It takes one horse to do something small. And it triggers a collective movement.
I love that. That's powerful.
Yeah, we're so worried about being seen in this huge collective immediately. And you're forgetting all of the small things it takes to really create an impact.
That's such a powerful analogy. I love that. You should share that on your social media. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, but my social media won't let me go live because I don't have enough followers. Collectively, you all have to like me in order to hear me, apparently.
Yeah, I don't have enough followers either, so don't feel bad. But I'm sure there's a lot that do. But they talk about
it's depressing to me. I see this garbage constantly, on social media, and I'm like, okay, this person can go live with this garbage, recreating moments of terror, and that can go viral. And then my comments of life and my, positivity of a negative situation has to be like, nope, you don't have enough followers here. You don't have enough to make it
out there, because I saw something, the guy with the frying egg and he makes the egg sing. He's got millions of followers. Okay, I'm just saying.
Give me the platform that some of these OnlyFans girls have. Let me talk.
We will show you the way. Way showers will show you the way. You might not always like what they say, but we will show you the way.
Exactly. You don't have to like what I say. Watch what I do. The only thing you're ever going to take from me is notes.
Oh my God. I need to come back to New Jersey. I think I lost that.
I say that all the time. Life is a resume builder. So the only thing you can take from me is notes.
That's right. And notice who you're surrounding yourself with. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's been such a fun show today. I love talking about it. And I think that, if we can just, offer a little hope to people out there that are confused or feeling it and they're being judgmental or just saying what the hell is going on, then, I hope you continue to watch and see what Keegan and I are creating this year, because I think it's going to be powerful. I think you're going to see a lot more boisterous energy come from us as the year moves on. And so I'm excited for that.
And the idea of that horse, even when you watch race horses, what do? They put blinders on the horse so they can't see the other horses. So they run faster, straight forward. It's kind of like the same kind of.
Yeah. It's time to stop watching other people and start doing you.
Exactly. And start feeling it. Feel that wind. Feel those feet run. Feel that heart pump. Feel you. Feel you.
Feel you. I think, yeah, we got to feel ourselves. It's time to start feeling.
Yeah.
Stop numbing and start feeling.
Yeah, and not be given what to feel. Like, don't let your feelings be created by an outside source. Like, check in. What do you feel? Don't let your emotions get tied into a video you're seeing or a viral thing or like a political thing on the TV. Like, what do you feel today when you woke up? What did you feel outside of all of this? How did you feel? What did you want to create? What do you want to create right now?
And it's okay to feel uncomfortable.
Yes, and
Because
really
I'm feeling uncomfortable right now. My body's like, what the hell?
I know my body's like, you need to change, girl. We need to shed so we can run faster.
Get out there and run. Well, thank you for joining us today. This is Keegan and Terry Ann, and we will be back with our third Thursday next month. And Lord only knows what we'll be talking about, but I'm sure it will be good.
Yes, as always. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.